plan would have gone as Donald Trump wanted it to have gone, what would you call that? Glenn, what would you call it if the president was able to entrench his power by asking his vice president to throw out the vote unilaterally?
A coup.
I think
You're lucky there wasn't a real coup.
And it was only within the last several months that we saw all of the video footage, and what it showed makes a joke of the idea that this was a coup. Yes, a lot of Democrats were angry about that.
I'm not asking if a lot of them. I'm asking you would be okay personally if he...
This is, okay, this right here, that's all you need to know, that Glenn is a hack.
And I think that's wrong. I agree with you. I think that was a wrong legal
those
theory.
are only two that were
No, I agree with you on that. So, but what I'm saying is, then if Biden's going to win so big, why can't Trump be on the ballot?
That's not up for Biden to decide. That's up for the Supreme Court to decide.
Biden said he wants him off the ballot.
It doesn't matter what Biden says.
Oh,
Biden's not the one
get
to
it.
decide that.
Trump lost. That's why he can't have his race car on the track. Yeah, this horse is going to lose, so it can't be in the race. Bull crap.
Who do you think has the authority then to determine the interpretation of Amendment 14?
Man, I know the State Department.
Why can't you answer a single question? Why not just answer one question?
He's a really bad debater. Holy shit. But, yeah, he doesn't need to be a good, does he?
I'm just asking a simple question. Who has the authority ultimately to decide it?
The president has not.
The president has the authority to decide
on CNN,
matters of constitution?
You don't let me talk.
Because you won't answer the question.
Yeah,
The president has not been
He's going to ramble. He's not going to
Even on CNN, the legal analysts say that you have to be convicted. So, Destiny, you can sit there and have blue hair and be trending and make all these, like, the moon is made of cheese. I'm Destiny.
Does the word convicted...
every American knows you don't lose your rights when you're not convicted. He's not been convicted. And here's the good news. It's backfiring. We have the Declaration of Independence, and we can vote for who we want to.
No, you can't. You can't vote for people under 35. You can't vote for non-citizens.
But
can you?
Nobody stole an election.
Can you
but you can't vote for who you want.
Can you vote for
Nobody stole an election. But you can't vote for who you want.
I think
Nobody stole an election. But you can't vote for who you want.
We just beat this into the ground. Alex, I need you. We just crushed this one into the ground, but I want to ask the question in a slightly different way. Was this an attempted coup? Do you guys think this was an attempted coup?
Of course it was. Obviously it was.
The Hunter Biden laptop.
Oh my God.
Weaponization, censorship. There's no Russian connection. That's all.
mRNA vaccines.
Take your extra. I want you to take all the shots.
Global warming.
How many shots have you had?
None yet. You want to take some?
No, I hope you take them all.
I just want you to answer one question about any of this.
I want to see you take them all.
I think we've talked about the Democrats more than the Republicans on the January 6th debate. Isn't that wild?
Wait.
Isn't that crazy?
They now admit
Get in space.
Erases your immune system.
Get in that little cuck gnome space, Alex. Make him uncomfortable. Squeeze the oxygen out of
system and doesn't protect you.
Look at his defensive stance now.
So you do that little one-liner there.
Trying to take away my Democrat.
Yeah. Let's stay back. All right, guys. Back to topic.
Darren. Brian has an answer. So is it a coup? That's the question.
Yeah, that's
I think it can be debated.
Or an attempted coup. An attempted coup.
Definitely, I would say it's an attempted coup. And a federal
coup is flooding the border with aliens.
Alex, hold.
District Judge,
he did it
U.S.
again.
District
The coup
Judge
is the border
David Carter actually evaluated the Trump-Eastman scheme. And he said...
All right, we got some big news. I'm not interrupting you.
No.
Hours after.
Not that yet. But we had Glenn. Glenn's going to speak after you were.
I'm sorry. I'll shut up now.
So the federal judge, U.S. District Judge David Carter, evaluated the Trump-Eastman scheme.
Another lawyer.
Which we can go into later. But basically, he said that it was quote, a coup in search of a legal theory. This is
live views went from 8,000 to 3,000 whilst I was watching. What, on this stream? Yeah, that's because the counts get fucked on your end when you're watching a live stream or like a video updates view count. The view count is actually 6,295. It updates every 60 seconds. I don't know why the fuck you care about that, but okay.
Is a federal judge. So a judge.
We have a CIA coup over America. Hey, the CIA killed Kennedy.
Judges aren't part of the CIA.
Oh, on Twitter.
I don't think so.
Is that something? Is that a new theory of yours?
No, it's not a new theory of mine. No, the whole thing is a big rotten. But so they can find partisan. They found the Secretary of State of Maine took Trump off the ballot because she had one hearing.
I thought my bot scheme had been exposed. My 1,500 view bots.
YouTube video. Are we ruled by this lady? Can we not vote for who we want?
So one of the I guess defenses against it being a coup.
Oh wait, here we've got Glenn. Glenn speaking.
We're only half an hour through. I feel like it's gonna get a bit tiresome. How long is it going to take me to get bored of Alex Jones? Not there yet. I love this. This is amazing, but we'll see.
I just want, so it's just about I actually want to ask a question that I would love to hear everybody's answer to. But before I do that, just want to say about federal judges. This year, in the last 6 months, 4 different federal judges, a district court judge, and then an appellate court unanimously found that the Biden administration gravely violated the First Amendment. In fact, the greatest assault on free speech, the court said, in decades, maybe the history of the judiciary, by systemically pressuring big tech to censor the internet and purge it of all dissent by threatening big tech companies using the CIA, the FBI, and the CDC with punishment if they didn't censor the internet. Now, you may not agree, but according to your standard, 4 different federal judges concluded that, which is infinitely worse in terms of an abridgment of freedom or an attack on the Constitution than anything that Trump is accused of doing.
That's
but in
not
terms
true.
of whether
That's not true.
a digital insurrection by the deep state. Digital insurrection.
Can I put a pin on one thing real quick? That I just want it to be noted.
Hold up, everybody, hold up. Glenn, please finish your point, and then we're going to move on.
No, you may not.
The question I want to ask is, the question that
The
you're
men are
asking
talking.
is this a coup? If you look at how other coups are perpetrated, and I think a lot of this is that if you're an American and you have this very soft history, you don't know what a coup is, you think that like what CNN tells you a coup is a coup. Usually the way coups work is the leader of the country or whoever is in charge of the military orders the military to seize control of the levers of power. Trump was the commander-in-chief on January 6th. The military was duty-bound to obey his orders. They had a right to disobey if they were illegal, but if this were a coup, why didn't Trump order the military to seize control of the power and turn over the election process to him? Why didn't he order the armed factions that form the law enforcement part of the military and the executive branch that serve under his command to do that as well? That's what happens in a coup. That didn't happen here because Trump wasn't trying to perpetrate a coup.
He wanted the Department of Defense to seize voting machines, and the DOJ turned him down and told
Well, the worst thing he did was try to take Biden off the ballot. Remember when Trump said Biden cannot run and have the Justice Department take Biden off the ballot? Oh, God, that was Biden. Sorry. I'm sorry.
To reiterate, also, Biden doesn't have the authority to do that. He still doesn't have
Only
the
his Lord
authority
and
to
Savior
do that.
Jack Smith. I get
The Supreme Court that Trump has his picks on, that's currently 6-3 conservative, they're the ones who are going to make the final decision on that. I wanted to be known that every single time you try to talk about any of the stuff related to Trump, it's so many Democrat names that comes out of people's mouths. I don't know why people can't just engage on the facts of what happened on and in the events leading up to June 6th and insurrection without having to invoke every other Democratic leader's name.
No name calling.
No, his name's Ding Dong, Ding Dong, Destiny, whatever it is. The point is, I was there. There was over a million people, and they said police are attacking. We got there and like shooting tear gas.
Body
and then a bunch
language.
of feds helped break through. Some idiots that got mad had a brawl, and then the cops go, "Come on in, everybody, come on in."
Look at all that gravity.
So everybody sees those videos now.
Okay,
you call this the new Pearl Harbor, worse than 9/11. 3,000 people. Do you disagree? Let me ask you this: do you disagree with them claiming this was worse than Pearl Harbor or 9/11?
I think it depends how you ask that question. I would say no. It's not.
I would
worse.
bite the bullet and just say no. Yeah, like it's not as bad as Pearl Harbor and 9/11. Come on.
In Pearl Harbor or 9/11.
What are you basing on it? Are you basing?
No. I get it.
The answer is actually more nuanced than that because it was an existential threat to like American democracy, whereas 9/11 and Pearl Harbor were not necessarily existential threats to American democracy. Like America was still going to have a democracy after 9/11 and Pearl Harbor, but it's you just don't go there. You don't need to go there with this audience.
No.
Trying to take people's votes away is so sacrosanct, but you're trying to take people vote with Trump.
There is an unprecedented that a president of the United States would do everything within his power to prevent the peaceful transfer of power to the next president.
He said, I want you to peacefully march down to the Capitol.
That is a uniquely horrible event.
So
the
horrible.
march to the Capitol, what was bad was him watching the riot happen for 3 hours and doing nothing.
No, it was the riot was happening. He spoke for an hour and a half. It started then. Then he got back to the White House, watched it like 40 minutes, and then shot a video.
No, you're lying. He got back to the White House.
He was tweeting about Mike Pence whilst the riot was happening and saying Pence was a traitor. And then people were saying to hang Mike Pence.
Mark Meadows delivered a note on his desk that Ashley Babbitt had been shot, and he sat there sipping Diet Coke for an hour and a half. The guy that you called your leader.
The way they run these headlines,
how many
I was there.
How many pardons did Trump do for the Patriots that got unfairly charged with crimes convicted in the Capitol?
I was there.
Why didn't Donald Trump pardon any of those people? Why didn't Donald Trump pardon any of those people? There's not going to be an answer to this because there's not. You're scared to answer any questions.
They claimed in their timelines
every single
spoke for almost an hour and a half.
Don't let him get it.
Just keep it one at a time. It's easier.
Yes.
When he first started speaking. So you added an hour and a half on that didn't exist. I was there.
So you were there, Alex. So tell me, were there weapons there?
Ooh.
No, nobody used weapons.
So are you telling?
Yes, there were weapons. You're right. You got me.
He's going to say the cops.
Yeah, they shot Ashley Babbitt and they threw people off the balcony and they beat a woman's brains out. You're right.
There were 75.
Oh no, nobody shot a woman. Nobody beat a woman to death.
Nobody beat a woman on the ground. That's a fake video that got put out. That wasn't real.
Ashley Babbitt's fake, folks.
She was
wow.
shot.
I like how you would think that years after the event, we're now getting unreleased footage. Like there were 1,000 people sitting right around it. There's video of that event from 5 different angles without her getting beat by a baton. How would that take years to report?
Oh my God! Everybody on X, get him saying
yes.
they didn't.
Look at it. Use your gravitational force. Squish this little ding dong. Look at him go.
Beat a woman to death.
Everybody watching, go to Google.
Yeah, let's.
You just screwed yourself.
All right,
I asked you about weapons.
Got your ass. Woo!
All right,
yeah, got his ass now.
Once you're done celebrating,
Ashley Babbitt, nobody died. Old woman didn't get drugged in by the cops and beat by batons.
This is an Eagles-Cowboys game. What is that?
No, he wants to do little one-ups and just hope the audience only goes off how much emotion there is. I can top you.
Alex,
I can
calm
top
down,
you.
buddy. Calm down. Calm
Here we
down.
go.
Okay.
I don't know if I could watch this for 3 hours. I think I'm right. I don't know if I can watch fucking Frodo Baggins get squished by the cave troll every for 3 hours straight on a loop. It's too much. Oh dear.
So you said the weapons were the Fed shooting Ashley Babbitt. What about how about the guy the 3 men on the corner of 14th and Independence who had AR-15s? How about?
Oh, they use those?
They didn't use them, but
what about the pipe bomb?
I asked you a question.
Who's that?
Alex, I asked you a question if people had weapons. How about how many weapons were seized? Like,
hey, I got a dick.
75
I got a dick.
people arrested.
I mean, I'm raping people.
75 of the people arrested.
Next Alex Jones. Next Alex Jones court case coming out. What's this? Is this from the Jubilee thing? The American dream is still alive. This huge doomer outlook on everything. Okay.
Within the Capitol building had weapons.
Let's. We have a couple of clips.
Knives and stuff. Oh, the knaves have weapons and disarm them immediately.
Guy Reffitt. How about Guy Reffitt? What is he? 3%er or 3%?
Does he have nuclear weapons like Biden?
He had a handgun on the stairs of the Capitol building.
He had a handgun.
As he was encouraging people to.
That's worse than Pearl Harbor.
As he was telling people to go into the Capitol, as he was saying he wants to drag Nancy Pelosi out of the Capitol and hopes her head hits every stair on the way out.
Did he say go into the Capitol like Rams?
Let me just finish my point before you cut me off. He wanted to drag Nancy Pelosi out and let her head hit every stair on the way out. He said,
and a guy pooped on Pelosi.
Finish, Alex.
So we don't blame him.
Yeah, let Ed finish this point because we're going to go to Darren really quick.
He said on his way to the Capitol building that they're going to take the Capitol and insert their own government.
Yeah, so
and he had a
out of a
handgun
billion
on the
people,
steps
a
of
few
the Capitol
lunatics were
building.
there, and you call it like Martians invading and blowing the earth up. Like Glenn Greenwald said.
His intention wasn't an insurrection.
Yeah,
he's saying his intention wasn't an insurrection. He's saying he's going to drag Nancy Pelosi out. He's saying,
and he wasn't under Trump's command.
All right.
Trump didn't tell him. Trump said go peacefully.
Alex, can I just finish and you can respond?
Yes, you can finish your point, and then we're going to go to Darren.
Can we use a mute button or something on Alex?
No, I'm not going to be run over.
So he was on his way to the Capitol building.
He knows.
Saying, we're going to take the Capitol and install our own government. He had a handgun in
And
his
so
holster,
Trump,
he
and
had
I'm
his
guilty?
handgun on
I'm
his,
guilty?
in his
No, Alex, let him
holster
finish.
on the stairs of the Capitol, saying he's going to drag Nancy Pelosi and Mitch McConnell out. But you don't have a problem with that. That's
He
not.
didn't use
that's
a gun.
What do you think, Darren?
because
All
he didn't
you
use a
got
gun because he
fans
didn't have the
killing
opportunity
women.
to shoot Nancy Pelosi.
I don't know what it is, like because if they talk slower, I feel like something about talking slower seems to be that it makes other people want to give you more space to speak. Have you not noticed that? I've noticed that. Like, I feel like that's a thing, that the slower people talk, or there's a way people talk that just makes the rest of the room more inclined to let you keep going for longer. I don't know what that is. Yeah. The problem is like it's the opposite, because you feel like you don't want to take up too much space, so you talk fast, but then people talk over you. I don't get it.
Mike Pence,
Did he
that's
go?
okay. He didn't have access
I
to
didn't
that.
say it was okay.
Thankfully, the Capitol Police.
what
thankfully,
about
the Capitol
what about the
Police-
Q
thankfully,
shaman?
the Ca-
What about
thank
the
you-
Q shaman they let
thankfully,
in?
the Capitol Police.
All right, okay.
directed them
Oh my
away
God, a
from
guy had a
the
gun.
guys
Read
with
martial
guns.
law. All the Americans are guilty. You can't vote for Trump now. A guy had a gun.
I've been asked by Zero Hedge to moderate this debate, so that's what I'm going to do. Everyone, quiet down. We're going to Darren Beatty.
This guy is the worst fucking moderator in the entire planet. He's just happy to have the content, isn't he? He does not give a He's just thinking about like how many fucking tabs of acid he can buy with the super chats for this debate.
Darren, what's happening?
What's the question here?
Now, you've been hearing all
Is this
this.
a freaking coup? What do you think about what they've been saying
No,
as well?
I don't think it's a coup. I think question of an insurrection, you can go to the etymology of rising up. That could be anything. If we keep the proper perspective in mind, it doesn't elevate to anything resembling the Civil War, 9/11, or any of the crazy
What,
comparisons.
one guy with a gun isn't as big as the Civil War?
No.
They didn't use the gun?
Continue, Darren, keep going.
So there's that. The scope, I think, matters, and that's what we're really getting at when we talk about insurrection. The courts are politically weaponized,
can't
so
stop
I
winning.
wouldn't even rest, the legitimacy and the question on the determinations of the courts, which we can see are running away with pretty wild and ridiculous theories. Weaponized court system. So there's that. And then, these, sure, there are random nut jobs who are around D.C. on that day and any other day. And so I don't think that's relevant to the ultimate question of whether it was a coup, whether it was an insurrection. And as I said before, the stuff about Trump and the legal theory behind his, multiple part plan.
Yeah, every time you talk about Trump being bad, this is what happens, isn't it? Trump, this is about Jan 6, guys. Let's stay on topic, by the way, in 2000, 2004, 2016, and Biden. Yeah, it's basically, yeah. Yeah.
That could be an
Which I think is actually, it does reinforce the idea that these people do not really have, people don't really have that much faith in Trump, but they're just hanging on.
interesting discussion. It's technically outside the scope of the debate. But again, I would reiterate, anyone who knows Trump, anyone who knows people who knows Trump, 100% certainty Trump genuinely believes that the election was stolen. He had multiple legal advisors. Many of his advisors were trying to sabotage him from day one. Just because he was advised by one of these snakes doesn't mean that he therefore agrees with what they say. He agreed with the people who told him it was stolen and that he had legal recourse to address that, which he implemented.
So
there's nothing that rises to an insurrection or coup about that either, even though that's outside of the scope of our discussion for today.
So Cassidy Hutchinson said that Trump said to Mark Meadows, "I don't want people to know we lost. It's embarrassing."
I'm glad that you mentioned her, because this gets to the televised sham that was
Well,
these.
she was under oath. Who under oath for Trump said?
Well, she
didn't say
changed her
that?
story a bunch.
Yeah,
She was under
clearly,
oath.
Yeah,
She was under oath. So the thing here is
Under
that
oath?
listen. So the thing here is
Why
that
is the January 6th committee destroying the transcripts?
the January 6th committee called near 98% of their witnesses were Republicans.
It was kangaroo.
These people were under oath, Republicans, and they testified. The people who didn't testify within the Trump circle, there were dozens who Fifth Amendment. They refused to say a word. So you're going to tell me that the people that testified under oath are the liars, but the people that said things in the public but failed to say anything under oath are the ones that are telling the truth.
Let me say, I wasn't just there on January 6th. I was in that congressional hearing and took the fifth 98 times.
He was there.
And not because I had anything to hide. The Fifth Amendment isn't just to incriminate yourself. It's because they wanted me in a perjury trap. And they were going to have witnesses claim something wasn't true. I think attacking the Capitol makes us win an election?
Yeah, but witnesses against your...
All these screen grabs. Look at this ding dong over here. Oh, shit.
Their testimony versus you can't get you in perjury. They can't.
Oh, yeah, just ask Roger Stone that question.
No, it doesn't happen that way. How did perjury get Roger Stone that way?
Roger Stone wasn't involved with WikiLeaks. He worked here then. He couldn't get a hold of him. I knew he told the truth. He didn't tell anybody I'm behind the WikiLeaks. They said Roger Stone ran WikiLeaks. He never even talked to Julian Assange.
I didn't say he ran WikiLeaks.
No, they tried to put him
in communication. I think this is getting off topic.
Oh my God,
this is off topic.
That's
okay.
Roger didn't lie to Congress when he said, I don't know I have not interviewed Assange.
Let's pull back to Darren. Darren's going to finish off what you were saying about this, and I think, Glenn, you were going to mention something after that, and then I have a couple of clips that we're going to play, but Darren.
Yeah, I mean, the January 6th hearings were a show trial of the sort that would make Kim Jong-il blush.
Explain it to them. They wouldn't let Republicans that they wanted under the law on the committee.
They wanted Jim Jordan, who was actually part of the
You're not allowed to have you on your side. We pick who the people are on our jury.
Jim Jordan was being investigated by the committee.
Vote for Trump either.
They wanted a person on the committee who was being investigated by the committee. How does that make sense?
Oh my God, when you're being investigated by the Democrats, you don't have a look.
I think a lot of people watching don't understand. Hey, guys.
Jim Jordan was elected.
Does that matter?
The people that are listening don't have the context, so if we start rapid fire argumentation, a lot of people are going to lose interest. We need to stay focused and listen to each other. It's really important.
Staying focused makes it really hard for them to win their case.
It is really hard.
Win their case when they have to stay focused.
It's very hard,
but with any of their views of reality.
It is possible.
Well, I'm going to go take a piss, and I'll let you tell people fairy tales.
But what's happening is Darren is going to continue what you were saying about finishing up your thought.
Uh-oh. Does Alex Jones have bladder issues, or is he taking cocaine? What do we think? What do we think, guys? Let's take a good look.
Going to Glenn Greenwald.
Yeah, well, the thought was just about this Hutchinson, and she said a lot of things. I believe she was the one who said that Trump reached over to the steering wheel and, told the Secret Service this or that, which was a bizarre thing because the Secret Service agents in question weren't the ones that were called upon to testify under oath.
Some of them testified the same thing that Cassidy Hutchinson said.
No.
Do you still have family and friends in Lebanon? My grandmother left, but I think she's got relatives, so she'll be like distant relatives, like my grandmother's brothers and my grandmother's cousins, and maybe some uncles who I've never met, probably still there. I don't know, like Middle Eastern families are quite big. Like just because someone's your second cousin, that doesn't mean you're not going to meet them and they tell you how much they love you and how you're like the most important person in the world to them and shit. I don't know. And that they're going to force feed you 3,000 calories of hummus and kibbeh. I don't know. Yeah. What part of Lebanon is your family from? Himalaya.
The Secret Service actually said we would love to testify, and they weren't allowed to. The two Secret Service agents in question in that specific anecdote were not allowed to testify. So why would they take the secondhand report from Hutchinson when they could have interrogated directly the people who would have been direct witnesses to that?
They're in the report.
Not those two specific agents, but why not?
Other agents in the car with Trump testified for the J6 committee. I don't know why they would or wouldn't testify or have particular people testify, but other people in that car did.
No.
Yes,
Can I
people.
Yeah, Glenn.
The January 6th committee, and it's what Alex was alluding to just a second ago, is one of the biggest shams in the history of Congress, because what happened with the January 6th committee was we had a long history of 225 years of tradition in the United States Congress where whatever investigative commissions would be created within the Congress, the minority leader and the majority leader would each select the members of that committee to ensure there was fair representation by both parties. Nancy Pelosi, for the first time in the history of the United States, as Speaker of the House, refused to allow the Republicans who were chosen for that committee by Kevin McCarthy, at the time the Republican minority leader, to be seated on the panel. And as a result, the Republicans said, we're going to have nothing to do with this. And the only quote unquote Republicans that were chosen was Liz Cheney, who ended up losing her seat by 36 points, and Adam Kinzinger, who didn't bother running again because they were so unrepresentative of the Republican Party. It was a completely partisan commission. And on top of that, none of the videotapes that were available was made available to the public except for very deceitfully chosen snippets by Adam Schiff and by Liz Cheney. And it was only within the last several months that we saw all of the video footage, and what it showed makes a joke of the idea that this was a coup. You had people peacefully walking into the Capitol, led by many of the police officers who encouraged them to enter peacefully, which they did.
Oh, it's so cringe. Like, we've seen the videos when the police are overwhelmed and there's a huge, like a mob of like 50 or 100 people approaching one security guard with a fucking can of mace by his side. Yeah, they're gonna retreat. Or wasn't there also the one cop who like led them away from the politicians? Oh God. I don't know how people can still cling on to this narrative. It's fucking mental. Or the barricade coming down even after it had already been crossed. Who the fuck is this guy? I wanna meet people like this in real life. This please understand guy. Oh God. Glenn the goat coming in for the clutch. Oh, shit.
The vast majority of people who were there at January 6th aren't even charged with using violence. And that's what makes this whole debate such a preposterous joke. If you look at how coups are carried out in other countries, you could make a much better case that the Black Lives Matter protests of 2020 was an insurrectionary movement. And the reason it matters, Destiny, is because if you're going to make arguments, there has to be an important test, which is, do you apply the same principles you're claiming to?
Do these guys not know the idea of like bloodless coups? There have been quite a lot of them where like the trust in the it usually happens when the current existing regime has so little public trust and people have so little faith in it that the opposition basically does just kind of like walk into the parliament building and take over. This isn't like a massively unknown thing. It happened like the Velvet Revolution in Armenia. I think it happened to some degree in Iran as well, in the Iranian Revolution. I don't know. Yeah, it's not an unusual thing. I don't know.
Profess and believe in, to cases where it undermines your partisan allegiance and your ideology, not only where it helps it. That's one of the key tests for determining the authenticity of your argument. And so if you don't think the 2020 protest movement was an insurrectionary movement against the United States government, there's no way to...
Glenn knows what a bloodless coup is. He's a professional journalist. You serious, bro? Yeah, so he should know that the level of violence at January 6th does not tell you that much at all, actually, about whether or not it was an attempted coup or not. Yeah, thank you. You understand. Well done.
Claim what January 6th was, especially since Trump could have done so much more to cause a coup that he did not do because that wasn't his aim ever.
If you want to talk about applying the same standard, would you have been okay in the year 2000 if Gore refused to certify the vote because he didn't like what was happening in Florida?
Uh-oh.
A lot of Democrats did want him to do that.
Can you answer that question? Glenn, answer the question.
Yeah,
would you have been okay?
Yes, a lot of Democrats were angry about that.
I'm not asking if a lot of I'm asking you would be okay personally if he...
This right here, that's all you need to know, that Glenn is a hack. If you know the question and you answer it and you just answer a different question that you've stated yourself, that's like that you don't care. It just means you don't care about the truth. You just have an agenda that you are trying to push forward. How fucking unbelievable. Like, Jesus Christ. Do you eat your own shit? Yeah, I totally agree that some people in this world do in fact eat their own shit. No, sorry, what? Mate, what? I asked you if you eat your own shit. Yeah, I just told you. I agree that lots of people in the world eat their own shit sometimes. Yeah, fuck off. Fuck off. Hats, thanks for 5 Canadian. Glenn Greenwald always sounds like he's slurping his own drool. Okay. This is you failing to understand journalistic integrity. Oh, God. Interesting. Whoa. Damn. You got me there.
He refused to certify the vote.
I think there were two. There were
You
two
won't answer the
arguments.
question. In 2016, would you have been okay if Biden?
Because if you really believe that an election is stolen, as the Democrats claim they did, then it is kind of odd to say we're just going to concede that and allow George Bush to march into power, even though we believe that he actually stole the election.
Yes,
that is kind of an odd way
it's
to go
not.
about your.
It's not all that all. We live in a democracy. There are appropriate forums through which you can
Did they not battle that out in the courts?
And they
though?
lost. Once
Okay,
you had
there
your day
you
in
go.
court and you
Trump
lost,
was battling it out in the court,
and he lost. Once you lose, anything past that is vigilantism. Vigilantism directed at the government to prevent the peaceful transfer of power to entrench your own power is an attempted coup. That's what he tried to do.
Trump did, though. He told them to be peaceful. He told them go and be peaceful at the Capitol.
We're not talking about the peaceful protesters. And if he wanted them to be peaceful, he would have called in the National Guard as soon as they started rioting, but he didn't do that.
Yeah,
You're talking about his use of the legal process, of the congressional and judicial process.
It was not a
he
legal
went and
process.
he tested. If he had ordered the military or some other FBI or any of those agencies, the CIA.
There's a video here of a former NYPD guy, a former detective, analyzing this cop's movements. This is the guy apparently giving the peaceful guided tour, showing people around the complex. Like, what the f is this guy supposed to do? Shoot them? Because it's either that or you probably have to start backing off.
All right. Okay, so right before he picks up his collapsible baton.
This is what happens in guided tours here. This is what happens when someone lures you and leads you in. They shove you and then they back off, looking like they're about to fucking brick it all over the floor of the Capitol. The citadel of democracy.
He's standing at a doorway, and you have the mob entering the doorway, and he is retreating. He's backing up. So he picks up his baton, and he's going up the steps. And, you know, it's very interesting that, which I did not pick up on when I first watched it. And it is quite reasonable.
He should have just swung at the first guy and seen what the other guys did in response. You know, just like take a chance, you know? Sigma.
To assume that he is leading them up the steps, kind of like follow me, follow me, follow me. And I just froze it where he glances over at the top of the steps, and he glances over at I guess that's the Senate chamber. Which is really interesting. So he pushes there's the one man who's wearing the black t-shirt and the hat and the sleeves, and he pushes him to get him to kind of follow him along.
He's stopping every now and then because he's like, and now we're entering the hall of the presidential slavery white supremacist America White House built in 1720 cock. Did you know that this is the bench that Thomas Jefferson sat on as he was selling 400 women to some other person? And did you also know that this is the chair that the fucking Bush Sr. snoozed on whilst he was dreaming of the fall of the Berlin Wall? I don't know.
Incredible situational awareness, and I guess, you know, perhaps that's from being in the military and just being a cop for so long. But clearly, in pushing him, the lead rioter, he is attempting to get him.
It's like a tour when there's just a bunch of fucking nerds, and all they want to do is ask you questions. You're trying to give the tour, but they're just like with their hands up, like and it's not even a question. It's just them commenting and showing off their knowledge, but they don't actually ask a question.
Follow along with him. So it's very interesting. And when he's backing away, you know, when someone's retreating because they don't want to get hurt, the best way to do so is to turn your back and run. And that's not what he does, right? So he's facing them and he's walking backwards. So clearly, like, he's just really trying to distract them and to get them to come along. It's rather incredible whenever you watch it, you know, slowly, frame by frame.
I'll keep almost knocking my glass off.
To go and use violence on domestic soil in order to
Kiting the mob,
ignore those court rulings the way people do when they're trying to implement coups, you would have a good argument. He didn't do any of that. He invoked all of his legal rights in the judiciary and in the Congress. He lost and he walked out of the White House on January 20th. He did not have to be dragged out. He wasn't arrested by the military, which is what happens in coups. So much of this is because you only started paying attention to politics in 2016. You only live in the United States. You have no idea about history or anything that happens in other countries. You have no idea.
It's also just someone who is so like unbearably smug in these conversations. Like, it has to be about, like, you must not be as learned as me, and you don't know anything about other coups. Again, so apparently Glenn Greenwald doesn't know anything about bloodless coups because he keeps on saying it's not a coup because they didn't roll tanks in and shit. Like, fuck off.
Idea what a coup is. This is a coup.
Glenn, you bring that up. Glenn, you bring that up, and you're trying to use Hawaii as an example for something that was comparable, where both slates of electors were actually duly elected.
Like, you're not smug. That's true, actually. Yeah, I'm not smug. I'm smarmy. It's very different. Okay. Safety first. Thanks for the $1.99. I really appreciate that. Wow. For the extra squattage yesterday, you little hobbit, you. Wow. Thank you so much.
By the people there. For in the 60s, Hawaii and South Carolina, these other historical examples that people go to from multiple states of electors are not at all comparable. Both of these things happened prior to 2016. There are no examples in U.S. history, or if you want to give me one, since you know so much history prior to 2016, give it to me. Is there any other examples in U.S. history where the president is telling the vice president to unilaterally not certify the vote? Has that ever happened before?
That's a totally separate question.
No,
from
that
whether
is
this
what
is a
happened
coup.
on January 6th.
It doesn't matter if it's the first time that it ever happened. Even if it's the first time or the 10th time, it's still not a coup or an insurrection. A coup or an insurrection is when you use violence and force in order to seize control of power outside of the legal process.
So a coup has to have. So if there's no violence, it can't be a coup.
Wasn't there violence? I saw violence.
Yeah, you need violence in order to be the coup. The
How much violence do you need?
On the Capitol
You need violence for it to be a coup? I thought the Glenn Greenwald fan said that there can be bloodless coups. What are we talking about here? Or do you mean like bloodless coup as in there's violence, like there's a lot of punchy, but then they don't break the skin? Is that what you meant by bloodless coup? Okay, interesting.
The most amount of
25
violence
grams.
To the January 6th protesters, not from them. Again, not a single protester whipped out a gun, let alone used a gun. That is an extremely weird.
How many officers were injured? 140?
Wait.
Is that enough violence for you?
Well, here's a good question.
140. Yeah. Do you see those testimonies from the cops after the event? Like they got fucking PTSD and shit. They're like quaking as they were trying to give their testimony and what happened to them. Ugh.
Like staging a coup and emergent phenomenon.
I'll tell you guys, I'll tell on them right now. Remember Celery? Old friend of the stream. We were watching that just off stream of the cops giving their testimony, and Celery was like, massive fucking anarchist, was like, stop making me feel sympathy for cops, please. Even then.
If a crowd becomes violent, or if someone directs the crowd to become violent, this is actually the next question on my list. Do you guys think that Trump was responsible for this thing? And before you answer, I want to play a couple of clips. We have clip 1 and 2. These are from Trump's speeches on the day. I think the first clip is before the violence kicked off. Maybe we can play that first.
I know that everyone here will soon be marching over to the Capitol building to peacefully and patriotically make your voices heard.
Peacefully.
We can't play into the hands of these people. We have to have peace.
What did he do between those two events? When he egged on the coup and said that Mike Pence was like a traitor and shit. What did he? What was his tweets about? Hang on. Trump tweets about Pence. This is when he knew the violence was happening. He said Mike Pence didn't have the courage to do what had to be done as they were rioting with fucking nooses, saying hang Mike Pence. Oh God. Seems like there was a bit of escalation before the de-escalation.
So go home. We love you. You're very special. You've seen what happens. You see the way others are treated that are so bad and so evil. I know how you feel. But go home and go home in peace.
That second clip was from after the violence had become, and so he was kind of doing damage control, I think, at that point.
I just don't understand all of the insanely arbitrary caps that we're trying to create to try to say that it wasn't a coup. Well, there was violence, but there wasn't enough. There was a subversion of the democratic process, but it didn't end up working. Like, if the plan would have gone as Donald Trump wanted it to have gone, which is Vice President Pence unilaterally tossing out the Electoral College vote, and if Donald Trump would have retained power past when he was supposed to lose it, what is that if not a coup? What would you call that?
No one ordered those people, the few hundred that actually fought police to do that.
That's great. What would you call that, though? If
Trump's
it would have
not been
happened,
charged.
no one said Trump's been charged with insurrection or inciting a
But
riot.
you say
Jack
he
Smith
can't-
especially did.
But we can't vote for him because they
What
say
would you
he's
call
guilty.
it if Pence would have unilaterally thrown out the vote and Trump would have held on to power for some weeks,
Trump was
months longer?
calling for a 10-day Senate investigation. That's why we were there.
That's great. What would have happened if Pence would have thrown out the vote?
He was there.
No, that's a hypothetical. Trump wanted a 10-day investigation.
No, but
I don't care
he
what Trump
also
wanted.
wanted Pence to throw out the
Yeah, what would have
electoral
happened?
votes.
What would you
Him
have called
and Eastman
that?
were pushing for that.
Yeah, what would we have called that? Can I get a name for that? If you don't want to call it a coup or an insurrection, what would you call that?
Well, I'd call it taking Trump off the ballot and saying we can't vote for him.
I know you won't answer because you probably know he's guilty. That's fine. What about
I
you
know
or
he's
Glenn?
guilty.
Glenn, what would you call it if the president was able to entrench his power by asking his vice president to throw out the vote unilaterally, which is what he was trying to do? Do you want to deny the facts? Do you want to deny that it's a coup? What part?
A coup.
I think
You're lucky there wasn't a real coup.
Shows the weakness of the argument, but if that had happened, my guess is it would have ended up in the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court would have made the decision about whether Mike Pence exercised his proper authority as vice president, and then Donald Trump, if he had run out of options, would have left the White House on January 20th without any need for military force or police force, exactly how he did. And I would have called that the exhaustion of all of the legal remedies available to the president in the event that he thinks that an
Exactly,
election
and
was
therefore
stolen.
it would have been just the way the Bush v. Gore thing played out.
Okay, if both of you guys
Exhausting your
accept that,
legal
if both of
options,
you guys-
getting up to the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court makes the determination.
Let Darren finish.
If both of you accept that, then if the Supreme Court says that because of Amendment 14, Section 3, Trump can't be on the ballot, you would both accept that as well?
I
We are going to
wouldn't,
accept
but I
that if
think
that
that would be
happens.
authoritative. I would
Why
think
would that
it would
be
be
authoritative? But Donald Trump, one man, centralizing power among himself to remain in power, that's not authoritative. What could be?
He didn't do that.
That's
not
what he tried
happened.
to do. That is what happened.
No.
Glenn, I know you only read tweets and headlines, Glenn, but believe it or not, that's actually what happened.
He wanted a
Yes.
10-day, and that was our goal, was a 10-day Senate investigation that's in the Constitution.
That's not what was happening behind the scenes, though. There's testimony from the lawyers involved.
They were wargaming everything.
Exactly.
His
And
attorney-
This is an interview with Glenn Greenwald about Brazil in 2016. Saying that what happened in 2016 in Brazil was a coup, even though there was no violence in that, was there? It was an impeachment, wasn't it? Whatever the definition. Oh, sorry. Personally, I had never used the word coup because for me, it was like the word terrorism. Everyone uses this word politically. It does not have a specific meaning. For me, recording should change everything because I had all the necessary ingredients to define a hit. Whatever the definition of coup, it fits with what was done in Brazil with regard to President Dilma Rousseff. There was involvement of politicians, the justice system, and the military, among others. The reason was not the alleged fiscal fraud. What happened in this thing in 2016? If the military were involved, you'd think there would be violence. But how much violence? Because apparently there were protests post-impeachment, but was the impeachment itself? Operation Car Wash. No, it's like an institutional coup, they called it. It was an impeachment process. Huh. Okay. Interesting.
Attorney General, the assistant AG, the assistant deputy AG, all of his legal counsel, all of the state senators, all of the congressmen.
If I can talk over you, I can be way better than you.
That's what you've been doing the whole time.
No, you're doing it, and then I dominate you. You can't handle it.
Okay.
He didn't do that, and he left, is the point. And that's the reality. And now they say we can't vote for him, even though we all know Biden's going to win by 10 million votes.
That's why we call it an attempted coup and not an actual successful coup.
Alex, do you think that Trump was responsible for this thing on January 6th?
100% not. He'd had hundreds of rallies around the country, 5 or 6 that we were part of in the months before this.
We were there.
And we had the space. We had, here's the Capitol, right up here by the Supreme Court on the Capitol grounds. We had a stage. And then we get there, and it's bedlam. And so, no, Trump didn't think attacking the Capitol would make him look good. That's why he came out and said that don't do this and go home.
Why didn't he call them off immediately if he thought it didn't make him look good?
It was happening while he was giving a speech.
Wrong. The reason why he didn't call them off is because him, Giuliani, and Eastman were making...
She committed a crime called pedalada fiscal, purposely delaying the transfer of money to banks and authorities in order to artificially improve federal accounts. God damn. Just ask Glenn Greenwald.
Making phone calls to other senators and congressmen asking them to decertify the electoral vote.
No.
You were there, but you weren't.
Do you acknowledge that happened?
Yeah, it was an impeachment, but Glenn Greenwald called it a coup. I don't know if it was actually a coup or not, but it was an impeachment process, like a political process that Glenn Greenwald was willing to call a coup, even though it wasn't violent. So, yeah.
Hold on. We're talking about the crowd.
I don't care about the crowd. I'm saying that as the riot was raging on and he was sitting there sipping his Diet Coke, if this really made him and his followers look bad, why didn't Donald Trump make a video immediately?
I'm about to do it because I can talk over you really easy.
That's what you've been doing the whole time.
No, you're doing it.
I look forward to you dodging the question again. Go ahead.
You're doing it.
No, you.
So, you.
No, you.
You.
No, you.
You.
Both of you.
You're doing it. What he does, he doesn't have facts.
Break it up.
Trump did, while he was speaking, I was getting text messages, violence in the Capitol.
It's so cute. They're besties. Oh.
And I left to try to go stop it. And when I got there, he was still speaking.
Sitting in a tree.
So this thing where you guys say, the attack started at this time and Trump did nothing this time, he's speaking while it happens for hours. He then goes to the White House, tries to figure out what's going on, and puts a statement out against it. And he said, in the middle of his speech, off a teleprompter, go be peaceful. That's what he said.
Didn't Trump get back to the was it like 1:30?
He also said, "Fight like hell."
Yeah, why didn't you play those clips?
If we don't fight like hell, we're not going to have a country. What did Rudy Giuliani say?
Trial by combat.
Let's have trial by combat.
Yeah, that's a legal term. Maxine Waters.
What? That's a legal term, is it? In the United States? Or in like medieval fucking Europe? What? I don't know. Oh, Okay. Trial by combat in the United States. People have requested trial by combat and been rejected. In 2020, a man named David Zachary Ostrom requested a trial by combat in response to a custody and property dispute with his ex-wife over their children. Following Ostrom requesting trial by combat, he was court-ordered to be administered a sanity test and was temporarily restricted from parenting rights. This guy wanted to fight his wife to the death. His ex-wife. God damn. Upon successfully clearing his sanity test, Ostrom's parenting time was restored. Ostrom has since admitted that he initially made the request for trial by combat in order to attract media attention to his case. Okay. Sigma? Sigma base department? Oh, God. With Japanese swords! Oh my God, why did the wiki leave that out? Always check the source. Because you never know what they're hiding. On the field of battle, where he will rend their souls from their corporal bodies. Bro. "40 years old. Claims in court documents that his ex-wife destroyed him legally. To this day, trial by combat has never been explicitly banned or restricted as a right in these United States. It was used as recently as 1818 in British court. Duels have not been formally abolished." Oh, God. His ex-wife can choose her attorney as champion or stand-in fighter. Surely Ostrom meant corporeal bodies, which Merriam-Webster defines as having consisting of or relating to a physical material body, although he said corporal bodies. Corporeal bodies. How do you say that word?
Corporeal.
Corporeal. Okay. It's not even close to corporal. Corporeal. He argued that because a duel could end in death, such ramifications likely outweigh those of property tax and custody issues. Historically, he said in court records, trial by combat was not always won by way of death, but also when a party cries craven, yielding to the other. Respondent and counsel have proven themselves to be cravens by refusing to answer the call to battle. Thus, they should lose this motion by default, Ostrom wrote, adding that if the other party decided otherwise, he wants to proceed with a blunted practice style of swordplay. The court was not yet ruled on either party's motions. Hudson was not immediately available for comment. Damn. The things you come across when you Google a couple of things. Trial by combat, a legal term. With Japanese sword. Ostrom doesn't have any experience with sword fighting. Oh, shit. What does this guy look like? We're gonna go phrenology on this guy. Of course. Okay. Yeah, I can see it. I can see this guy wanting a duel. Wow. Fred Durst in a trial by combat with Japanese swords. Rending the soul from his ex-wife's corporal body. Okay.
Term, really, that's a
go
legal
attack
term.
Republicans in restaurants,
that's
grocery stores.
So why don't,
with her it wasn't hyperbole.
Why don't
Trump
we
never
ask?
said Trump never supported political violence. Trump never told people to be goons. The left would burn down half the country. Everybody knows that. Everybody knows his Biden's erased the border. Everybody knows all this. You're sitting there claiming this was. Do you agree this was big as Pearl Harbor?
What are you comparing it? As big as Pearl Harbor in what way?
3,000 died in Pearl Harbor.
People dead? No. Maybe a blemish on our democracy? I'd say it was very close.
Let me ask you this. If they bring in, which they've done, 10 million illegal aliens the last 3 years, and then that gives them, with the congressional seats in the census, more Democrat seats in the Congress, is that
undocumented aliens, undocumented immigrants are not voting.
They are counted.
No, they are not.
They're counted in the census.
But they're not voting.
They're counted.
Alex's head is twice the size of Destiny's. Alex also doesn't have a neck. He is just all kinds of physically exceptional.
They're not voting.
So then they get more Democrat districts.
Can we backtrack really fast?
Oh my God!
So let's backtrack.
Ladies and gentlemen, they're already stealing elections with the illegals. They get more congressional.
January 6th.
They get more congressional districts.
Yeah, I do
Can we
want to
go back to January 6th? Okay, so you play those clips.
Oh, you always want to get off of it because it wasn't an insurrection.
I came here to debate
and then
January
as soon
6th,
as I bring up the real insurrection, you can't handle it.
I'm not here to debate immigration.
Yeah, talk to me, Brian.
Okay, yeah. So why don't we ask the Oath Keepers, the 3%ers, the Proud Boys, the ones who were actually indicted and convicted of seditious conspiracy, why they did it? And
well, you know, they told us.
No, yeah, they did tell us. They did tell us.
Both the kangaroo trials. Let me say.
Wait, let Brian finish.
And then you can come back at me.
All right.
Destiny looks
Joe
so
Biggs,
grumpy.
he said, I did it because this is where Trump wanted me. He wanted me to do this. Stuart Rhodes, Oath Keepers, same thing. I did it for Trump. Multiple Proud Boys and Oath Keepers, they all said, I was here because of Trump. I went into the Capitol. I took the Capitol because that's what Trump wanted. So was Trump responsible? Ask them. Ask the people that are serving 20 years in prison for seditious conspiracy.
I like to respond to that now. I know Stuart Rhodes well. I know Joe Biggs well. He used to work here. And they have never said Trump told them to go into the Capitol. They have never said they did it because he asked them to. That is not a true statement.
That is a true statement. I have their quotes right here.
Joe Biggs shook a fence. Stuart Rhodes said he never told anybody to go in the Capitol and never went in the Capitol. And you just said they said that Trump told them.
Multiple Proud Boys said they were in the Capitol because that's what Trump wanted. Trump
you're
wanted
reading a Jack Smith federal filing? Next we'll tell me the cheese.
Jack Smith didn't indict the Proud Boys.
They have messages between the group. They have the actual
I know all about it.
Yes, they have them. So are you saying these are fabricated?
No, read me the quotes.
Yeah, read those quotes.
I mean, I have said, we were here to storm the Capitol. We were here because of Trump. I mean, there's literally dozens of these
pretty
quotes.
Different.
And
so
they say Trump told me to?
What's the best quote
Nobody
you have?
is
Trump said go peacefully.
This is a red herring. They're not saying that Donald Trump personally communicated to them to go to the Capitol. What they're saying is the reason why they were there, which I think over 147 convicted people have thus far in their convictions, have said the reason why they were there is because Trump called them to go there, not personally. You know how many of those people cited Ray Epps as the reason why they were in the Capitol? Take a guess.
Well, wait a minute.
Yeah, Darren.
In both Proud Boys and Oath Keepers cases.
Yeah, how many? Yeah, that's a good question.
The Fed said there was no direct conspiracy.
No one is talking about
that.
That's not what I'm talking about.
They went on to say it's a new conspiracy where it's not written or said. They just imagine it.
Incitement of violence.
I want to be clear. I want to be clear. What is your contention with this? Give me the quote and then what your contention is in relation to the quote.
Like Destiny said, there are 140 convictions where the people convicted said, I was there because of Trump. Trump called us to do this. And when I say called us, I don't mean he called them on the phone and said,
for the sake of argument that's true, what is your conclusion from that?
That Trump helped incite this?
Well, just because they thought they were helping Trump.
Okay, that's been an hour. We need a minute. I need a little break. Okay. Oh, God, it's intense. Do we feel like we've heard some good conflicting perspectives on the January 6th riots, you guys? Learned a couple of things. Just give me a minute, okay? Is TTS available in YouTube Lives? Yep. $10 or more and you get TTS.
You smarmy, cuck bastard.
YOLO swag. Thanks for the $4.99. Alex's voice sounds like a J-Dam. That's true. There's no getting around it. I'm very familiar. Yeah, $10 or more and you get TTS. What is Judd Logic talking about?
Let's fucking go! Finally,
Let's
we're finally
fucking
unleashing
go.
President Sunday on an innocent, on an unsuspecting black woman.
Of course
so
we
Christopher
are.
Rufo, exclusive, real Chris Burnett and I have a.
No worries. Listen, Haley.
Oh, it's about the Miss Gay. It's about Lady Gay with the fucking plagiarism. Because apparently the plagiarism is very real. It seems to be that it was more convincing than people were making it out to be. Yeah. Even if the the publicization of it was politically motivated by people like Rufo. Yeah.
You know, I
counterparts of comparable socioeconomic status. Using 1987 National Sample Survey data.
Yeah.
So she's removed national and sample from there.
Jackie and Morte are
blacks
gearing
and
up.
black and
Oh my
white
God! Just get to calling the slurs, please, Sunday. What is all this? Well, you see, the thing is here. There's a passage here that's lifted from this section here. Yeah, I get that's the important bit, okay? But get to the bit where you call her the word I want to hear you call her.
African Americans and high
okay,
black.
Well, good. All right.